Hello everyone, very good morning to all of you. Yes, boys and girls, very good morning to all of you. Am I audible, visible to all of you? Yes, good morning everyone. Am I audible, visible to all of you? Yes, hello, very good morning to all of you. Welcome to the platform of Unacademy, India's largest learning platform. Yes, once again, good morning to all of you. We are providing the daily live classes like test series, like quiz, structure courses, and unlimited access with one subscription. I hope all of you downloaded the Unacademy learning app. Those who haven't downloaded, please download the Unacademy learning app because the special classes are available on the app. Yes, let me introduce myself. Those who are new here, my name is Harshvardhan Singh, and on this platform, I'm going to teach you history, economics, and international relations. Currently, my lecture series on modern India and international relation is going on. Recently, I finished a topic related to world history as well as most of the topic in international relation. And yes, from Monday, we are going to start the economic section as well. Yes, I'm having 8-year experience in the field of civil services as an educator at Delhi, Pune, and Nagpur. Those who want to connect with me, then they can connect with me through Telegram channel at unacademy underscore Harshvi10, or you can connect with me through an academy app, that is Harshvardhan Singh for you. Yes, these are our top educators. Please do watch the videos. It will be more beneficial for you. Yes, I hope all of you subscribe to Unacademy. Those who haven't taken subscription, please subscribe to Unacademy because your subscription made us possible to present such a wonderful video lectures for you. Without your subscription, it is not possible for us. So in the subscription, we are going to provide you two options, plus as well as iconic. I insist you to have plus I insist you have an iconic subscription because here we are going to provide you all aspects of guidance including personal feedback. In that also we are going to provide you option of 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 and 36. Those who are really interested, I insist you to at least have a subscription for 12 months because whole syllabus is covered within that particular time. Yes, and use my code Harshvi10 is my code. Harshvi10 is my code. Please use the code. If you are using the code, then you will get the 10% discount and you get the plus subscription for a year for 44,550. Yes, and along with that, if you're opting for iconic subscription for 12 months, it cost around 62,550. Yes, after 10% discount, and you have to use the code HARSHV10. Yes, everyone. Yes, we are going to provide you optional subscription as well. And yes, for your kind information, UPSC Unacademy, that is Unacademic Combat, is there on 17th January at 11 a.m. Please do participate in that. We are having the format of 45 minutes, 60 question and 30 combats. So please, for further details, you can visit our website or you can read through our app. Yes, and the prices are also there for you. Yes, we are going to launch the batches from 18th of this month for 2021, 22, 23 aspirants. So these batches are here. They are in Hindi, English as well as bilingual according to your choice. Please do join these batches. Yes, and we are going to provide you the combo offer as well. And yes, the final thing I just want to let you know that on from 25th January 2021 we are going to rise the prices. So please have a subscription before that. Please, and as I mentioned once again, without your subscription, it is not possible for us to make you such a wonderful video lecture. So please subscribe to Unacademy. These are my lecture which is available on Unacademy app. Please do watch. Those who haven't watched, please, it is available on app as well as it is available on YouTube channel. Yes, very good morning to all of you. Preeti, Satyam, Ashwini, Bhanupriya, and Jolly Kashyap. Yes, very good morning to all of you. Yes, so today we are going to discuss one of the important topic from films as well as from men's point of view, that is establishment of British rule. As some of you might face the problem while reading this chapter. Yes, am I right or wrong? Most of you, not some of you, most of you feel that this topic is not that much interesting, because since our childhood we used to focus on one topic, and that is India's freedom struggle. Since childhood we are quite aware of this fact, but this facet is mostly neglected, and you will get to know that every year at least 2 to 3 questions UPSC is going to ask. And recently UPSC also changed the trend. They are asking the question from this section of the modern India. Yes, am I right or wrong? Yes, boys and girls, what do you think? If you go through question paper, don't you think so this point is important? This topic is important? Yes, what do you think? What do you think? Is that they just go and look at the previous year question paper, and in recent time they focused mostly on this topic, that is establishment of British rule. So, what do you think? How Britishers established their rule? How Britishers means Britishers they decided, okay, we have to rule India. They came, they settled, and they established a rule. Is that the case? Yes, is that the case that Britishers came with the absent-mindedness? They don't have any idea, any intention, and they just came. They saw that okay, everything is fine, nobody is here to rule, and we are going to rule here. If you consider this as what you are saying, I'm not saying that. Britishers said that, and we believe it for a long time. Yes, I'm not joking. Whatever the I said, it is the reality of British rule for a long time. But once our national movement established and our historians they busted this myth, because Britishers said that they do not have any intention to rule India. They established a rule in the absent-mindedness. It was just an accident. It was just an accident. They established a rule. Clear? But was it the case? Or was it is a pre-planned movement of British India and they established the rule? So in this lecture, we are going to decide and we are going to discuss those things, whether the establishment of British rule in India was just an accident, or was it a pre-planned strategy of Britishers and they implemented gradually, they consolidated their position, and finally that reached to establishment of their empire, and British India became the part of British Empire. Yes everyone, so are you ready? Yes everyone, are you ready? Shall we start? Yes everyone, ready? Good, let's see. Okay, so first we are going to discuss the background, how the Britishers came to India, what were the problems they facing, what were the opportunities for them. So we are going to discuss this thing in detail in this lecture. Yes, so background was basically the advent of European Trading Company. European Trading Company, why they came to India? Though it is very simple question for you, but still I just want to ask you, what do you think? Why European Trading Company interested in India? Why they came to India? For tourism? Yes, for tourism, to enjoy the Goa, to enjoy the other places, Taj Mahal and all. Was it the case? Yes, everyone. What do you think? Why these European trading companies came to India? Question is very simple. For the spices trade? Yes, for the spices trade. Then before coming of these companies, then how the spices trade with them was possible? Yes, as you said it correct. Yes, what's the name of the person? Satyam said Ashwini. Ashwini said to get a raw material at the cheap rate. No, no, no. It was not the case. Initially, they do not have any intention of raw material and all to explore the true market and all, propagating Christianity. That is the latter case. First important aspect is related to the trade, and in that trade, spices. Why they came? Just for spices. Initial their intention was very clear, that is spices. But why they are coming to India? Why don't you they get it before, means before 15th 16th century? The relation was there. India's relation with the Roman Empire was there in ancient time. Yes, we have almost the references to the coinage and Temple of Augustus, everything. It is going to mention that India is having a relation with European countries much before. Then what happened? The problem is basically related to one place, and right now that place is known as Turkey. Yes, right now that place is known as Turkey. Turkey was once upon time a part of Europe because the Constantinople everybody knew about. Now it is known as Istanbul. This Constantinople, this Turkey location, it is some part is in Europe, some part is in Asia. This is having a unique location. So through the Turkey there was a land route and it is going to connect the European world. Yes, it is going to connect the European world. And land route trade was there between Asia and Europe. What happened with the advent of Ottoman Empire? This Ottoman Empire established the monopoly here. Now Turkey is a part of Ottoman Empire and the Arabs established monopoly. Yes, Arab established monopoly over the spices trade, and it was not acceptable for the Europeans. Along with that, whatever the spices they are getting from these trade, it is too much costly as compared to their manufacturing price. So that's why two reasons were there. First, they cannot afford it at so high prices. The second most important thing, they want to break the monopoly of Arabs over the spices trade. So for that reason, from 16th century onward, even the European powers encouraged their seller to find out the oceanic route to India. So this sea route is important. There were many players which tried to do so. Spanish and Portuguese sellers are in the first position in that. A very famous person, you know, Columbus. Columbus, why he went to America? He doesn't have any intention to reach America. His intention was to reach to India, but somehow he missed the direction and he reached to America and he invented that continent. The another most important player that is related to the Portugal and under Vasco da Gama. Yes, everyone. So Vasco da Gama reached to Cape Colony. Yes, reached to Cape. Oh, here is African continent. He reached there, and two Gujarati seller merchant guided him, and Portugali ships reached to Indian port known as Calicut. Yes, they reached to Calicut. The Vasco da Gama was the first player who reached India and he invented that just you have to take a turn from Cape Colony or Cape of Good Hope, you will reach to India. With this, what happened when he purchased the thing? For suppose 1 rupee, he purchased a product for 1 rupee, he sold that product for 60 rupees, 60 times more. He earned the profit, but at the same time, when the people got this, it was so cheap as compared to the product they are getting in their local market through land route. So that's why, as it is the most profitable trade, other countries are also want to have such a thing. Other countries wants to establish trade relation with the India and East Indies. So Britishers, French, Dutch, they all are really interested in the same. Clear? And that leads to the advent of European trading companies in India. But but Portugali till that time, the Portuguese till that time establish control over Indian Ocean and Indian Ocean and yes, western coast. Yes, everyone. Yes, Portuguese till that time when the Britishers and French companies came to India, till that point they established their control over trade, over port as well as over the western coast. Now it is an important power. Means if anybody wants to have a trade with the European countries and India, then they have to take the permission of Portugal. It was the condition at that time. Clear? So these companies came to India. The next important factor, yes, next important factor is decline of Mughal as well. As you know that after after which one? Aurangzeb. After Aurangzeb, there was a sudden decline, not just a gradual, it was a sudden decline of Mughal Empire. Why? There were so many factors. The first and most important factor is related to weak financial condition. Yes, weak financial condition. It is the most important factor for the decline of Mughal Empire, as the policies adopted from Shah Jahan along with Aurangzeb, and there were many factors, that is expansion of Mughal rule in Deccan, and there was a problem of Sar Khel Jagir. That means the best quality of Jagirs, best quality of land was not available, and that creates a financial crisis in that. That is the first cause. The second most important cause, that is a weak successor. Second most important cause, weak successor were there. As you know that just after the death of Aurangzeb, his son Bahadur Shah became the ruler. He tried to introduce several new reforms, new changes and everything, but he died soon because, as you know, when he became the emperor at that time he was around 60 plus. So 60 plus is of course aged person. After that there was a continuous rivalry among the successor to grab the throne. And here the most important role played by, that is the third important factor, that is the third important weakness we can consider, or a factor responsible for decline of Mughal, that is court politics. Court politics. That is the third important, means the nobles, wazirs, they played a such crucial role and they established the puppet in the throne of Delhi and they established their own control. That is the another important aspect that leads to decline of Mughal. Another important aspect I just want to mention here, that is establishment of regional power. As those who were once upon time served as a loyal servant of Mughal Empire, now they are planning to establish their own empire or own state. And the very best example, as you know about Bengal, Awadh and Hyderabad. Clear? So decline of Mughal Empire is also an important factor for rise of European player in this market, because other powers were not that much powerful as compared to Mughals. And along with that, internal rivalry among these regional powers also provided a favorable ground for establishment of British rule. Not just a British rule, but establishment of foreign influence over the Indian land. Yes, everyone, decline of Mughal factor is clear to all of you. Yes, is that clear? Decline of Mughal factor, Mughal power is also important. Next, establishment of regional powers. As we have just mentioned about three, that is, we mentioned about the Bengal, we mentioned about the Awadh, and we mentioned about Hyderabad. But other than that also, there are many powers, the regional powers, which played a most important role. And name of these power is of course Maratha. Marathas were another important regional power, and Mysore. Mysore under Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan was another important challenge in front of these powers. But what happened, as I mentioned earlier, these all regional powers, as because of political vacuum or lack of central authority, these powers were engaged in fighting with each other. And don't you think so that when they are engaging with themselves in the fighting, it is going to provide the best opportunity for these Europeans to play an important role? Yes, it happened because these powers were busy in defeating one another, and that made their position weak as compared to European power. And European power grabbed this opportunity, and Britishers succeeded in that over other European powers. Yes, so establishment of regional powers and their internal rivalries, conflicts played an important role in the rise of foreign power, and Britishers are one among them. Yes, the next point we have mentioned the same, that is internal rivalry among the native state. And one more point I just want to add here, that is in this internal rivalry among the native state, one more factor is internal rivalry among these European companies. For example, British versus France, British versus French, along with that French versus Dutch, British versus Portugal. So these powers were fighting among themselves, as the power politics of Europe also found expression in Indian land as well. A very best example. Yes, do you know any best example in Indian context? Yes, boys and girls, do you know any best example of European rivalry which also found expression in Indian context? Hmm. Yes, Neha, very good morning. Good, good, good. There are many people joined us. Yes, Satyam, propagating the Christianity. Yes, it was one of the factor or that promoted the kings and queens to give chartered and all. But it is not a real intention. Main intention is of course trade. पैसा. पैसे के सिवा कुछ नहीं. Yes. Why are you waiting for? Just reply fast. My question is very simple. Please give me an example that European powers or European power politics also found expression in Indian land. As we mentioned about this point, internal rivalry among these European companies also played an important role. Yes, please tell me the example. And I know all of you know this example. That's why I'm asking, so that you can interconnect, you can link that. Yes, yes, everyone. Why there is no response from your side? Do you know it or you don't know it? If you don't know it, please let me clear that. Don't worry, I'm here to explain that. Yes, if you don't know it, it's okay. There are many things in the world which we don't know. Yes, my question is, do you know? Do you know that thing? Satyam said that monopoly in trade. Okay. Are you, means, why you are taking so much time? Do you know it or you don't know it? That is the option with you. If you know it, say it yes. If you don't know it, say it no. So that I will get to know. Listen, everyone. This is an interactive session, a two-way communication. That's why we are taking live classes. If it is a one-side communication, why we are taking such classes? It's a better to have a video and broadcast that. That's it. Why there is a need of such live classes if you're not having interaction with me? Am I right or wrong? It is better if you do not want to have interaction, best way just to upload video and you can watch the video and there is no need to ask the question. I ask one question at least. It is, I think, almost all of you can understand this much quantity of English. That is, do you know? क्या आप लोगों को पता है? इतनी तो अंग्रेजी तो आती ही होंगी ना भाई साहब. Yes, Satyam, I got your point. Monopoly in trade in India. Yes, I got it point. But my question is not related to that. Yes, M said, don't know. I don't know he or she, whatever the person is that. Rest people know it. Okay, very well. नहीं नहीं, टाइप करना ही नहीं है ना. टाइप करने में कितना टाइम जाएगा हमारा, है ना? टाइप करना पड़ेगा, एक एक लेटर ढूंढ ढूंढ के आपको लिखना पड़ेगा. क्या आपका ज्ञान आपके पास ही रखोगे? हैं, बांटोगे नहीं? What's this? At least one person asked, do you know or you don't know, and no reply. It's okay. Yes, so as all of you said that you don't know. Okay, let me explain. As I mentioned, the internal rivalry among these European companies found expression in Indian context. As I mentioned, the power rivalry, power politics, the politics of war, which was there in Europe between these countries like Britain, France, and Portuguese, Spain, all found expression in Indian land as well. And very best example, as I mentioned, a very best example, I just want to tell you. Carnatic War. What's the use of that when I gave you the answer? A very best example of that, Carnatic War. Carnatic War was basically against French versus Britain. And this Carnatic War is found expression of European politics in India. Clear? And you know, Battle of Vandivash. Battle of Vandivash was the battle through which it is decided that Britishers are going to establish their control over India and French are not in a position to pose any challenge to them. Clear? Yes, Ashwini, after a long time you mentioned that. Thank you. Clear? So what happened here as well? I just, why am I mentioning, why I asked this point to you, that is internal rivalry among these European powers also make some powers weak. And very best example, as I mentioned about the Battle of Vandivash. This Battle of Vandivash was basically, it ended the challenge of French East India Company. It is one example of that. Along with that, the British and Portugali, they have conflict with each other, and finally, it was the establishment of control of British over that. Clear? So this internal rivalry among the European player also weakened their position, means with respect to others, and Britishers emerged as a powerful in all these countries. Along with that, I just want to mention one more point here. One more point, that is internal rivalry among these native states. Here, the European power played important role. European powers played an important role. How? Court intrigue. Court intrigues were there, and very best person or very well-known person in this, that is Duplessis. Duplessis, have you heard about Duplessis? Yes, it is the same person who tried to establish the French control over India. Clear? But as the French East India Company was too much, what we can say, noblecratic or autocratic, and because of that reason they were not in a position to perform their best in India, and they called off Duplessis from India. But Duplessis was the first person who involved in Indian court politics, and he supported the claim of one and established that particular person as the puppet, and most of the work was in their hand. And later on, the same policy adopted by the Britishers, and Britishers played an important role, and they captured the power of India. Yes, everyone. And do you know very best example how these powers are successful? Next, we mention the success of British East India Company. Their success was basically with the war and diplomacy. And this diplomacy is basically known as court intrigues. Very best example, if you want to know about it, that is British involvement in Maratha affairs. Britishers forced the Maratha king to sign subsidiary alliance, and because of that, when Peshwa signed the subsidiary alliance, it made other Marathas to oppose the Peshwas, and that leads to the internal rivalry among them, and that leads to end of Maratha confederacy. Clear? It is one of the example I am mentioning. Along with that, after defeating Tipu Sultan, they installed a person from Wodeyar dynasty as a puppet king, and most of the powers with the Britishers. That is through internal conflict. Even Britishers interfere. In Bengal is the best example. Forget about Marathas and all. Bengal is the best example of it. Bengal is the best example of which one? That is how they diplomatically established their control. Am I right or wrong? Yes, everyone. Don't you think Britishers captured Bengal mostly through the court intrigues than the war? Yes. Don't you think so? Bengal is the best example of it? Yes or no? Say something. Ah, good. Preeti, after a long time, she typed yes, Y-E-S. Good. Okay. So, as I mentioned, the establishment of British rule, these are the background factors that led to establishment of British rule in India. But it was not an easy task. It was not an easy task for the Britishers to establish their control over India. You know what? One more example I just want to share with you. One more example I just want to share with you, and that is related to the period of Aurangzeb. That is related to the period of Aurangzeb. You know what? That is earlier through during their time, British company wants concession. British company wants concession. Yes, they want dastak. What is dastak and all we are going to mention in later time. Okay. So British company wants concession. They want permission to trade in East, to trade in West, to trade in Mughal Empire and all such kind of permission kind of thing they are asking. But what happened during the period of Aurangzeb? Britishers waged a war against Mughal Empire. Do you know this fact? Yes, everyone. Do you know this fact? That is, during the time of Aurangzeb, East India Company tried, not just tried, they waged a war against Aurangzeb. Do you know this interesting fact? Yes? Once again, I'm going to write. Do you know? Do you know this fact, everyone? Yes? No? Don't know? Never read? Am said no. Satyam said yes. That means Satyam, you read the book. Good. Yes, Harshita, after a long time. Yes, yes, yes. Those who said yes, that means they read at least NCRT and they have information of it. And those who said no, it doesn't mean they haven't read NCRT. They tried to read it, but somehow they missed this thing. Yes, they somehow missed this thing from that book because the first time whenever we are going to read the book, we never use the policy of reading and understanding at the same time. So please, those who are reading books for the prelims, try to read and understand. Do not try to finish the book. क्योंकि मार्केट में ये हवा चलती रहती है कि नहीं नहीं हमें खत्म करनी है, मैंने ये किताब खत्म कर दी, मैंने वो किताब खत्म कर दी. Finishing book is not a choice, not an option to crack the examination. What you have understood after reading the book is important. So first time, it may take 2 or 3 days more to finish one book. It's okay. But next time you just have to revise that thing. That's it. Clear? So it should not be the case. Okay, so those who knew this fact, I just want to tell you this thing. That is, British East India Company considered that yes, Mughals are weak. They do not have any focus on the eastern affairs of the country, and they thought that they are in a position to defeat Mughal Empire. And under whom? Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb is like LOL. In the today's world of meme, Aurangzeb's reaction is like, "Are you comedy?" Aurangzeb, one of the powerful emperor of the world at that time, and they thought that they are going to defeat Aurangzeb. Don't you think so? It is a too much exaggeration from the Britishers side, and yes, they suffered the crushing defeat. Yes, because still Aurangzeb was busy in his world. He was busy in Deccan affair, but it doesn't mean Aurangzeb or Mughal emperor were weak. Mughal Empire was weak. Nope, it was not the case. They were strong, and Britishers suffered the crushing defeat in that. And then only Britishers realizes that they are not in a position to challenge Mughal authority. And then after they started pleading, requesting, please pardon us. Please give us some concession. Please allow us to trade. Yes, and Aurangzeb allowed them after some time. Clear? So they tried. Clear? So this background is clear to all of you. Background is clear. Any question, any query, any doubt? Yes, boys and girls. Any question, any query, any doubt for you? Nope. No question. Good. Very good. No question. Okay. Next. The British expansion in India through these three policies. British expanded their empire in India through these policies. Once they established their control through internal politics and all and all. But it is having three policies. First is of course war. Second, doctrine of lapse. And third, misgovernment. Doctrine of lapse, misgovernment and war. War basically known as direct annexation. Means Britishers expanded their territory or their empire in India through these three policies: war, doctrine of lapse, and misgovernment. This war is a direct annexation, and these two are considered as an indirect annexation. That is without war. Without war, Britishers annexed it. But my one question is there, and after telling you this thing, that question is more relevant. Do you know that? My question is, do you know? Do you know that largest expansion of British is through indirect annexation? Yes, everyone. Do you know this fact that is largest expansion of British Empire in India through indirect annexation than the direct annexation, direct war? Yes, do you know this fact? Yes, do you know this fact that is their largest expansion through indirect ways, that is doctrine of lapse and policy of misgovernment? Yes, as Ashwini said, yes. Okay, she agrees with me. Along with that, M said, M, are you boy or girl? I don't know. But if it is possible, then you can share your name so that I can say with your name. Yes, M said, yes, treaties they signed with the regional rulers. Pratik said, yes, they are happy. My another question to all of you. Yes, a very, yes, Satyam is also agree with. My another question to all of you. Why they adopted this policy? Why they means why Britishers adopted this indirect annexation policy? Yes, Satyam gave me the answer that he said that it is the most viable option. Okay, okay, as his opinion. What about you? Yes, boys and girls, what about you? There was a lack of militants. Ashwini, militants. Hmm. What do you think? The two people presented their opinions. What do you think? Why Britishers adopted? Because you know that in worldwide context, Britishers or any European power, they annexed the state through war, mostly through the war. Hmm. Fast boys and girls, think on rational line. Just common sense. If you use the common sense, then you will get to know the answer of it. Yes, just with help of common sense. And if you don't know, it's okay. But when I'm going to tell you this thing, when I'm going to tell you the answer, and you are like that, I knew it. But the problem is that you were not in a position to express. Ashwini said that lack of military. No, no, it is not the case. Don't you think so? They were having military, powerful military, sophisticated weapons and all. Yes, everyone. Do you know this fact or shall I explain? Yes, shall I explain? So that the rule is not opposed and the locals are in favor. They are not most powerful in the land as they in sea. Yes, that is true. They were powerful in sea. Agree. I agree with you. Shall I explain, everyone? Preeti, war leads to loss of life on British side too, but indirect annexation doesn't require that. Oh my God, this girl is so much liberal attitude. She is thinking about the humanitarian approach from the foreigner side. Do you know that in these Britishers and everything, they kill millions of people to establish their control over the land. America is the best example of that. Australia is the best example of that. Clear? It is the same case. If they could capture territory by diplomacy, it was. Shall I explain? Yes, everyone, please allow me. Now you all gave me so much answers and all. Okay, have you heard about Regulating Act of 1772? Oh, 1772 or 1773? Yes, 72 or 73. Regulating Act of India 1772 or 73. हम्म क्या आपने इस एक्ट के बारे में कभी कहीं पे भी सुना है? रेगुलेटिंग एक्ट. यस, सुना है. गुड. सुना है, अच्छी बात है. वेरी गुड. सुनना ही चाहिए, पढ़ना भी चाहिए उसे. I was just checking. Yes, Regulating Act of 1773. So, what exactly this act was, why it was so regulating, who regulating affairs of East India Company, regulating affairs of East India Company by British government. Yes, first step to regulate the affairs of company. Yes, exactly. Regulating. Now, means East India Company is basically a company, an independent company. And don't you think so? The company is going to work independently. Of course, they were working independently. Clear? Then why British government regulated? It is just because British East India Company faced financial crisis. Yes, everyone. British East India Company was facing the financial crisis in India, and they were not in a position to work well. And this was the best opportunity for British government to take the control. They said that we are going to provide you finance, but we are going to regulate your affairs. As company doesn't have a choice, they said okay. So now you get it why they focused on indirect measures than the direct. Yes, everyone. Now you get it why they focused on indirect method than direct. The reason is very simple. That is, British East India Company were facing financial losses, crisis, and in that time, war is not the solution for them. War requires huge money, and they don't have that much money. And that's why they adopted another way of annexation. Clear? Is that clear to you? Yes, is that clear to all of you? Okay. I'm going to mention these 2 points here, doctrine of lapse and misgovernment. First, I'm going to discuss about the misgovernment, and then I'm going to discuss about doctrine of lapse, and then I'm going to discuss the war in detail. Clear? So, here, the misgovernment. Misgovernment means what? Misgovernment means Britishers said that king is following maladministration or maladministrative practices. King is performing human sacrifice. Clear? Then they said that they are revolting. Any reason revolting against empire. Possibility of revolt. So such type of clauses they use to annex the territory. Maladministration, you person is performing human sacrifice, means any king is performing human sacrifice, or there is a possibility of revolt against the British Empire and all. So these are the reasons they used to annex the territory. And there were very good example of it as well. And in the next coming slide we are going to discuss. I just want to tell you one this example, that is of maladministration, annexation of Awadh in 1856. It was a very best example. Awadh, since beginning, they supported the Britishers. Yes, Awadh was became the buffer between Marathas and Bengal. They supported British East India Company since beginning, and finally British annexed them over the issue of maladministration by the Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, and they annexed it. This is the one example I just mentioned. I'm going to explain the other example, which area, which territory they annexed through these practices. So misgovernment is the clause, and why they accept it? Because right now, during that time, British East India Company was powerful enough to influence the ruler. Along with that, they are powerful enough to depose the ruler. Means there is no regional power left during that time who can oppose the British East India Company at the time. So it was a free hand for them, and they deposed any ruler over any useless or any, what we can say, means not much important reason. They just remove that person just to annex it. And most of the annexation through this in the decade of 1830s and 1840s. Yes, most of the annexation of British India on the basis of misgovernment is during the 1830s and 1840s. Second, doctrine of lapse. This policy is very famous, and who was the person, who was the man behind it? Dalhousie. Dalhousie was the Governor General of India, and he followed the policy of doctrine of lapse. He, the most important point he presented in the doctrine of lapse, that is no natural heir. Yes, no natural heir to the ruler. It is one of the most important factors. Along with that, they say that it is not the case that you cannot adopt. Yes, if you can adopt, but permission required. Doctrine of lapse is the policy through which, and you know what? One more interesting fact I just want to tell you. This person was there in India in 1848 to 1856. During this short period, he annexed the territory of 50%. And suppose I just want to give the example. In 1856, if there were 100% territory of British East India Company, the 50% was there during the time of Dalhousie, and rest is through war, even the maladministration, and also you can understand the importance of Dalhousie for East India Company and how he played an important role to annex the territory. 50% increase, 50% of the total territory they grabbed till 1856 is from the year 1848 to 1856, and that is without war. Yes, without spending a single penny, he annexed the 50% of the land. Get it? Yes, everyone? Clear to you? Doctrine of lapse is basically on the basis. Don't worry, Ashwini, I'm going to explain the misgovernment point in the coming slides. Don't worry. And which area, why, and how we are going to mention. Doctrine of lapse is clear to all of you. It is the policy adopted by Dalhousie, and it is having that if the ruler is having no natural heir, then it's a difficult. You have to take the permission, and Governor General can give permission or can refuse it. Clear? So it was the policy they adopted, and most of the land grab or most of the territories grabbed by the Britishers in this time only. Okay. Next thing. Yes, please remember how Britishers expanded their territory, how they annexed the territory, and do you know what, as I mentioned earlier also, Britishers planned, means it was not an absent-mindedness or it was not an accident that Britishers established rule. It was a plan, and one by one they went there. Just I want to show you. Those who attended my first lecture on generalized sense, they knew this fact, but still, as many of you are joining me today only, I'm going to tell you what exactly the case was. How Britishers continued their rule, expanded their rule and conquest. First, we have mentioned that Britishers established their rule in Bengal. In Bengal from 1557, and we are going to discuss all these events in detail. Don't worry about it. 1557 to 72. Britishers established their rule. First is Battle of Plassey and 72 is the end of Nawabship. They established their rule over Bengal. They consolidate their position in Bengal, and once they consolidate their position, and how they consolidate position, one policy was there known as policy of ring fence. Clear? The policy of ring fence was an important policy in Bengal. Clear? Don't worry, I'm going to explain the policy of ring fence in detail in the coming slide, but at least policy of ring fence was basically, in short, I just want to mention what exactly this policy of ring fence was. Basically creation of buffer between Bengal and Marathas, and that buffer was basically our buffer. What buffer means, or what's the significance of buffer? Yes, do you know what is buffer? Have you seen any practical example of buffer? Yes, have you ever seen a practical use of buffer in your life? Or do you know what exactly buffer is? Or have you heard about it? Have you heard about this buffer word? First tell me this thing so that I can explain how they extended this buffer and they captured the power. Yes, everyone, boys and girls, what is buffer? A basic meaning. First, you have to understand the basic meaning. Once you understood the basic meaning, it's easy to understand any concept. Yes, my dear friends, do you know what buffer means? Or shall I explain? Ashwini said buffer means obstacle. Obstacle is basically, Ashwini, a negative term. Obstacle is basically here negative term. Yes, Preeti, a protective barrier. Yes, exactly. That can be a positive word. Meaning is the same, but right now that is a better, a protective barrier. Clear? So this buffer, if you are having anything else, then suppose this is your car. Car properly. Okay. हाँ, कार तो बना ली, अच्छा है, हमने ड्राइंग भी बना दिया। आपने कोई कार देखी है आपने कभी? कार या कोई भी ऐसी गाड़ी होती है, उसके सामने ना एक ऐसा ये होता है, a kind of steel or kind of a rod is there. What Neha said, it uses and activities are managed in the ways to protect the core zone. Yes, yes. तो ये कार आपने सभी लोगों ने कोई भी कार या कोई भी ऐसी गाड़ी देखी होगी आपने, and in front of that iron rod or steel rod is there. Why it is so? Why it is so? Because if somebody collide here, then they have to protect the main part, or guard of the car. Yes, exactly. Use in trains as well. So I just give you the example. So protective barrier, that is buffer. So that if any collision, any attack is there, you can protect the main thing. Whatever the damage happened to that particular part, it is replaceable. But what if it happened, or if it having damage to the human or person, it is not going to reversible. Clear? So that is the buffer. So what exactly the buffer in terms of Bengal? They use Awadh as a buffer between Marathas and Bengal. And you know, in past, that is, Marathas attacked Bengal for so many times. And at that time, the capital of Bengal was Murshidabad, not Calcutta. Yes, Britishers made their capital as a Calcutta. But during that time, the capital of Bengal was Murshidabad, and Murshidabad, if you know the location of it, then you will get to know that Awadh can be act as a buffer between Bengal and Marathas. Means if any attack from Maratha side, that attack is going to be on the side of, or going to attack is on Awadh first, then Bengal. Clear? It was a case. That is a protective barrier established by Britishers in Bengal. And how they made Awadh as a buffer? By installing the British forces there. By establishing or installing the British forces there. So that is the policy of ring fence to protect Bengal from the Maratha invasion. And why it was so? Because Bengal was the most fertile province. Along with that, one most important aspect of it, that is, for the trade point of view, Bengal is also important. Yes, from trading point of view, Bengal is also important. As I mentioned earlier in previous lectures, that from, means if 100% trade is from East Indies, 60% of trade is from Bengal only. That's why Bengal was most important for them. So what Britishers did? Britishers first consolidated their position in Bengal. After consolidation of their position in Bengal, what they did? Consolidation of position, it means not just establishment of rule, establishment of administration, establishment of judiciary, establishment of land revenue policy, etc. When they consolidated their position in Bengal, then they started their march towards south. And here is the Mysore. Just look at the things. First, they established their control over Bengal. Second, they established control their Mysore. So next important location was Mysore. Clear? Now, once they established their control over the Mysore, they move upwards, and here is a Maratha territory. Here, all the central area is under Maratha. Here, look at this. Nepal, they do not annex the Nepal. They defeated Nepal and took some areas from the Nepal, and very best example of it is Darjeeling. Darjeeling was a part of Nepal at that time. Britishers annexed this area into India. That is the war, but they didn't annex the Nepal. Clear? So they subdued Maratha in latter time. First Bengal, second Mysore, and third Marathas. Clear? So now they subdued Marathas. They annexed the territories of Marathas. Is that clear to you? The way I'm going to mention is the how Britishers established their controls. Yes, is that clear to all of you? Whatever I have mentioned, is that clear to you? Yes. Next. Oh, what happened? Okay. After that, just first Bengal, second Maratha, second Mysore, third Maratha. Now they move towards westward direction, and they annex Sindh. They annex Sindh. Actually, they do not have an annex means intention to annex Sindh. The plan was basically like here. They wants to annex the Afghanistan. Yes, they want to annex the Afghanistan, but Britishers suffered the humiliating defeat here. Humiliating defeat in the first Anglo-Afghan war, and that leads to loss of their prestige. आपने वो सुना ही होगा कि आया हूँ तो कुछ ना कुछ तो लेके जाऊंगा. Crime Master Gogu. It is the same thing. Britishers suffered defeat, and it was not just a normal defeat, it was basically question mark over their supremacy. The loss of prestige was there, and it was a prestige point of them, and because of that reason, while returning, they annexed Sindh. And you know what? Sindh, there were three states in Sindh. These all three states were favoring Britishers, but still British annexed it. So it is said that in history, even the Charles Napier, one of the important person of that time, he mentioned that we do not have any right to annex Sindh, but still we are annexing it, though it may be a best example of rascality, but still we are doing so. So it shows their helplessness to protect the prestige of British. So now Sindh is there. What next? Where they are going to go? Then they started in upward, and here was the Punjab. So next important target for them was Punjab. So in 1845 to 1849, they annexed Punjab. Clear? Now the mainland of India is almost covered by them. Mainland of even the main regional powers was subdued by them. The only thing left within India, small native states were there, or we can consider they are the feudatories of these bigger power. They just left, and this portion covered by Dalhousie through doctrine of lapse, along with that the British policy of annexation on the reason of misgovernment. Clear? So fourth is Sindh, fifth is Punjab, and now Britishers. After that, 1857 happened. After 1857, Queen assured there should not be any annexation in mainland of India. Do you remember this thing? That Queen's declaration was there in 1858, and she mentioned it directly. There will not be any annexation in the mainland of India. So she assured. And why it was so? Because in the revolt of 1857, there were many native rulers who supported British East India Company, and because of their support only, it was possible for East India Company to protect their rule in India. So that's why she decided not to hurt the sentiments of native rulers. So last expansion of British East India Company is in other part of Indian subcontinent, that is Burma. So 1885 was the last case, and it is away from the main land of India. Is that clear to you? Yes, everyone. Is that clear to you? Any question? Any query? Any doubt? Is that clear? Yes, do you have any question, any query, any doubt? related to the same? Nope. Yes? No question, nothing? Good. So, after seeing all these things, do you believe that British establish control by accident? Yes. Do you believe in this fact now? Or do you believe in this theory? That is, Britishers established their control just by accident as no one was there, so we ruled. It was a spontaneous reaction. Was it the case? By looking at this thing, do you believe? Yes, I ask you the question, do you believe or not? Yes, one more important fact I just want to tell you here only. There are two. First, Anglo-Nepal War, and second, Anglo-Nepal War. Good. तो यदि कोई आपको अंग्रेज अब कहे कि हम ऐसे ही आए थे घूमने टहलने आए थे और हमने यहाँ पे हुकूमत बना ली तो आप क्या कहोगे? चल चुप थे, हमें पता है कि कैसे यहाँ पे आप लोगों ने हुकूमत स्थापित की. Clear? So now we are going to discuss the two important aspects, as this is not a big part and all, but still I just want to share with you because it is having historical as well as the present relation in Indian context. So first and second Anglo-Maratha, or sorry, first and second Anglo-Nepal War. This first Anglo-Nepal War was basically Britishers suffered. Yes, Britishers suffered the losses. And first time Britishers realizes how dangerous Gorkhas are. Clear? Do you know one very famous statement by our Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw? If anybody is saying that he or she doesn't have any fear, then either that person is lying or that person is Gorkha. So this shows the courage of that community. So Britishers first time suffered losses, and along with that they tested the courage of Gorkhas. But they were Britishers. They were not going to accept the defeat. The second Anglo-Nepal War was there, and that war leads to the Treaty of Sigloy. This Treaty of Sigloy was there in 1816, and with this treaty, Darjeeling annexed to British India, lower Nepal, and where in Darjeeling Gorkhas are there mostly. Why it is so? Because earlier it was a part of them, and now even Darjeeling and nearby area, even there are many places in Himachal also. It was a part of Nepal only. So they all are annexed by this war of 1816, and that leads to treaty. And one best example, that is Darjeeling is a part of India just because of that. Along with that, and the most important thing, after this thing, Britishers allowed Gorkha to be part of British Army. Yes, an important achievement for the Britishers, that is Gorkha Regiment, is established. After that they allow Gorkhas to take part in British Indian Army. Clear? Is that clear to you? Yes, is that clear to you? Okay. Related to Anglo-Burma, I just want to tell you the three Anglo-Burma war was there. First, Anglo-Burma. Second, Anglo-Burma. And third Anglo-Burma war is there. The third Anglo-Burma 1885. First in 1824-26. And here, if I'm not wrong, it is around, I'm having some year related to confusion, but it is in 1850s. Clear? So these three Anglo-Burma war was there, first, second and third. In the first Anglo-Burma, they captured the lower Burma. Clear? In second Anglo-Burma, they captured the middle Burma. And of course the third, the upper part of Burma, annexed by Britishers. And you know what? Till 1935, Burma was a part of British India. Yes, the two provinces or two important sections were the part of British India. One is Aden. Yes, Gulf of Aden. Everybody knew about that. Aden was a part of India till 1935 along with the Burma. With the Act of 1935, separation of administration of Aden as well as Burma. Three war, first war, lower Burma, second war, middle, and third, they captured whole. That's why Tilak was sent to Mandalay. That's why Bahadur Shah Zafar sent to Rangoon. Yes, exactly. 1852. Yes, that's why that confusion was with me. 1852, 53. This was the second war, and third war 1885. Is that clear to all of you? And you know, very famous song Rangoon. It is just because India is having very close relation with the Burma at that time, and Bengalis. Mostly the Bengalis are having close relation with that area, because as compared, means if you consider the length and breadth as compared to Punjab, Burma is very near to them. Clear? Yes, is that clear to you? Sequence of British conquest in India, first Bengal, then Mysore, and there is no need, yes everyone, please understand, there is no need to mug up the years and all. There is no need. If you know the sequence, it started from Bengal, then Mysore, then Marathas to Sindh, Sindh to Punjab. You know the sequence. Bas. And last, Burma. Clear? No question, no query, nothing. Very good. Now we are going to discuss the Anglo-Bengal in detail. Yes, Anglo-Bengal in detail we are going to discuss in this lecture. As you know, this thing is very clear, that is Bengal is important for Britishers from trade point of view as well as fertile tracts, and the situation in Bengal is very, what we can say, favorable for Britishers to interfere in the matters of Bengal. Why it was so? As the background is very clear to all of you, that is decline of Mughals and establishment of Nawabship. in Bengal? Murshid Quli Khan. Murshid Quli Khan became the first Nawab of Bengal. He established his rule over that area. But you know what? As it was a part of Mughal Empire, and Mughal used to have, at least we can consider, official control over this area. Though Bengal is acted as an independent state, but they didn't declare their independence. Still, the authority of Mughal was there in that area. Clear? And these Britishers, Britishers took the permission from Mughal Emperor. Clear? Britishers took the permission from Mughal Empire to have a trade in this area, and along with that they got the permission of issuing of Dastak. What is Dastak? Yes, do you have any idea related to Dastak? What is the Dastak? आप लोगों ने कभी ना कभी हमारे हिंदुस्तानी भाषा में सुना होगा, उसने दस्तक दी. What exactly this dastak is here? Yes, everyone, this question is for you. दस्तक हम जैसे कहते हैं कि कभी आप knocking, it's kind of knocking. Dastak is a kind of knocking, but here the meaning of dastak means it was a permission through which you can enter, you can have a trade without paying taxes. A special privilege was given to East India Company, and this privilege was basically they given authority to issue dastak. So in this context, it is basically permission. Means they can permit anyone to have a trades, and that trade without any taxes. This privilege was given to East India Company, and what happened? There was so much misuse of this dastak. It was very visible during the time of Siraj ud Dawla. Yes, Siraj ud Dawla was the Nawab of Bengal, a young Nawab of Bengal, and he realizes that his state is suffering from revenue losses. This misuse of dastak was an important aspect, and that leads to revenue losses for Bengal. How revenue losses is there? Because you know, if you want to have a trade, then you have to pay custom duty. You have to pay tax. But with help of dastak, you do not have to pay any taxes. Means it is a tax-free thing. In other words, I just want to mention, it is a permission for trade without paying taxes. Clear? If you are not going to pay the taxes, then how government is going to collect the revenue? Government is not going to spend the money from their pocket. It was the same case with the Bengal at that time. Trade is an important aspect of revenue because through the trade taxes were collected, and that's why Bengal was a rich province. And what happened? Corruption. What kind of corruption was there? These means what we can say, employee of East India Company issued dastak to Indian merchants as well, issued dastak to other European merchants as well. Means, for example, if I want to explain it to you with a very simple example, so suppose if a person has to pay tax of 10 rupees, and this tax it is going to collect on by the Bengal treasury, the Bengal government. With the dastak, if dastak is there, then you do not have to pay any tax. Clear? If you have a dastak, then no tax. No tax means no money in the state exchequer. What these people are doing then, European company, they issued the dastak to non-British traders. How? You know, corruption is an important aspect. Suppose that person has to pay 10 rupees, then they said that we are going to issue dastak, just give me rupees 3. I am giving you example. Just pay rupees 3 to me. I am going to give you dastak. Businessmen always think about the profit. If legal means they have to pay 10 rupees, through illegal means they have to pay just 3 rupees. So 7 rupees profit for that person at the same time. So that's why there are many Indian traders along with that European traders provided the bribes to British officials to get the dastak, and the resultant of that is state is suffering from revenue losses. And Siraj-ud-Dawla realizes this thing. That is the first important factor for Anglo-Bengal War. Is that clear? Is that clear to you? Dastak issue is clear to you? Or do you have any question, any query? Yes, is that clear to you, everyone? Or do you have any question or any query? See, people use this the malpractices since beginning, and you're claiming that people are adopting such a practices nowadays. It is not the case. Remember one thing, as you're going to be a bureaucrat, I just want to tell you one thing. Corruption is not just a problem of the system. Corruption is a problem of the mentality of the people. You can reduce the corruption through a transparent means, but eliminating corruption 100% elimination is not possible, because you can have a transparent system but you cannot have a honesty with all. Clear? So if you are considering the elimination of corruption 100%, that means you are an idealistic person. Realism, you can reduce it as low as possible through transparency, accountability. That is important. That's why recently governments all around the world, they are focusing on this aspect. Clear? So misuse of dastak is clear to you. Next, this was the first issue over which the war started, or the problem started. Next, fortification of Fort William. Yes, of course, the Calcutta was known as a Fort William. One more fort is there, that is known as Saint Fort George. Fort St. George, that is in Madras. The Madras fort is known as St. George. Calcutta fort is known as Fort William. What exactly this problem was? Fortification of Fort William. So what's the big deal? First, I just want to tell you, these forts are basically go down. These forts are known as factories, and these factories are not production unit. These factories are not production unit. They are basically warehouses. Clear? They are basically warehouses, not a production unit. Along with that, this factory is having headed by factor. Factor is a head of the factory. Clear? So it was a kind of go down at that time, and Britishers or other European companies have the warehouses and they called it as a factor. So what's the problem in that? Britishers already have the land and it was permitted by Mughal Emperor. So they started fortification of the fort. What's the big deal in that? Big deal is very simple that Mughals allow them to have the factory. Okay, hello, change. Wait a minute, something happened. Okay, problem is clear. Yes, everyone. So it is very common. That is, you have to take the permission from the ruler to establish or to fortify it. Yes, you have to take permission to fortify it because Siraj ud-Dawla is a Nawab. You are a foreigner, so at least you have to take the permission from the government to fortify it. They didn't take permission. As you know that it was a time when there was a French versus Britain rivalry was there in India. French is having French is having their what we can say settlement in Chandragiri, and Britishers is having their settlement as a Fort William. So these places are near each other, and due to the rivalry, they considered that it is better to have fortified their places, and they both started fortifying it without permission. Yes, without permission of Nawab. Nawab is like, are you sure? Means, are you sure? Do you consider me as a Nawab, or you considered yourself as a god? Not taking my permission. So don't you think so? It is an utter violation. Hence, don't you think so? It is a negation of authority of Nawab. Yes, it was so. That's why Nawab was angry with that. Of course, one issue was there for a long time. That is misuse of dastak was an issue for a long time. And the second most important issue that is we can consider it as an immediate factor. And that factor is related with fortification of Fort William. Nawab asked both Nawab asked both France and Britain East India Company to stop that work and demolish the structure. French East India Company agreed, but British East India Company refused. So basically, with the refusal from the British East India Company, it was a challenge to the authority of Nawab, and that leads to Nawab Siraj-ud-Dawla attack the Fort William, and he captured Fort William, and that leads to Treaty of Alinagar. Alinagar means Fort William was earlier known as Alinagar. In that Alinagar, one area, small area was known as Fort William. As it was a sudden attack, Britishers were not ready, and it registered. That is, Siraj-ud-Dawla registered the victory, and Britishers, they fled away from that area. They just want to save their life. And Treaty of Alinagar was the imposition of treaty over the Britishers. Britishers were not happy. They fled away and they waited for the right opportunity, and that right opportunity provided in term of Battle of Plassey. How it is so? Because as the Siraj-ud-Dawla was a young leader, and here after this humiliating treaty, Britishers decided to take revenge. Britishers decided to take revenge. One person was very important here, Clive. Robert Clive was the first person. He decided to have a revenge and what to do, and that's why Britishers followed the policy of entering in Bengal fort. they started doing intrigues in the Bengal court. As you know, this fact is very clear all over the world that if any person is doing something good or if any person is ruling, there are many people who always have a dissatisfaction. Siraj-ud-Dawla was the same case. Siraj-ud-Dawla was a young ruler of that time, and there were many who were unhappy with his rule, and ambition is also there. A very famous person, that is Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar was a Mir Bakshi of that time, that means military commander. He was a military commander. Along with that, one more person he is against that, one more institution, Jagat Seth. Jagat Seth is basically a banking house. It is not the name of person. Please remember, it is not the name of person. It is a banking house. Jagat Seth. Mir Zafar was against him. Jagat Seth was against him. Along with that, there were many court females as well against the Siraj-ud-Dawla. Very best example, his maternal aunt only, Jasiti Begum, the name of that lady. She also against it. And this conspiracy cooked there. Britishers, after hatching this conspiracy, they attacked the Bengal, and that leads to Battle of Plassey. Battle of Plassey was battle in namesake only. Yes, Battle of Plassey was basically battle in the namesake only. Why? Because most of the nobles refused to fight. Yes, everyone. Most of the nobles refused to fight. Only handful soldiers fight from the side of Bengal Nawab. Britishers, if you know the war is a huge human casualty. Britishers lost their 50 soldiers and Nawab lost his 500 soldiers. Clear? It was just a namesake, and that leads to defeat of Siraj-ud-Dawla as the internal conspiracy hatched before Battle of Plassey. So it is said that Battle of Plassey was a diplomatic victory of British. As you know that they had the conspiracy with Mir Jafar, and they promised Mir Jafar that they are going to install him as a Bengal Nawab. Clear? So he was happy and he revolted, or which instead of revolted we can mention he hatched the conspiracy against his own master. It's the act of treachery. So Battle of Plassey was not a battle at all. It was basically, we can say, a diplomatic victory of Britishers. Now, after Battle of Plassey, what happened? It is really interesting. After Battle of Plassey, Mir Jafar became the Nawab of Bengal. And you know very well about the British rule. Britishers never do any favor at free of cost. Yes, remember one thing, Britishers always believe in black and white. They never had a verbal communication with anyone. They always believe in black and white. So they said the same thing. Okay, we are going to install you as a Nawab, but in return you have to provide us huge money. Along with that, you have to provide us zamindari. Yes, zamindari of 3 areas, also given to East India Company, and Dastak was with them. So now, after the Battle of Plassey, Britishers gradually started controlling the affairs of Bengal. But still, Nawab was there. Later on, after some time, as Mir Jafar was not a foolish person, he realizes that Britishers are looting us, and he started opposing it. And once he started opposing him, the second chapter started, that is, Britishers overthrew Mir Jafar and established his son-in-law, Mir Qasim, as a Nawab. Clear? Mir Qasim as a Nawab. Because Mir Jafar realizes it is not good for him to allow Britishers to plunder Bengal. He was wise man as well, because he was paying and paying, but still Britishers were not satisfied that. And once he opposed that, Britishers just threw that person out and established Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim was also power hungry at that time. He also realizes that after Mir Jafar, he is going to establish the control and he is going to depose the Britishers. But it was just ideas. In reality, they all underestimated the British power at that time. And finally, that led to conflict among the East India Company and Mir Qasim. Again, East India Company kicked out Mir Qasim and they installed Mir Jafar as their Nawab, and that leads to Battle of Buxar. In the Battle of Buxar, three powers, who? Awadh, Mir Qasim, and yes, one person who was roaming here and there. Yes, do you know the name of another person who is involved in this Battle of Buxar? Yes, boys and girls, do you know the name of person who is also involved in the Battle of Buxar? Yes, it is very interesting. That person, the story of that person is very interesting. Yes, Ashwini, Preeti, M, Harshita, Sham, Satyam. Do you know the name of that person? Who was he in the Battle of Buxar? It's very simple. The name of that person is Shah Alam. Shah Alam. Who was he? He was a Mughal emperor. Shah Alam was the name of person who was a Mughal emperor, and he was roaming in UP and Bihar. One question comes into my mind, why this person is roaming in UP and Bihar? As he is a Mughal emperor, where should that person stay? Where should that person stay? Of course in capital. Where is the capital? Delhi. Then why this person is roaming? As I use the word roaming in Delhi, in UP and Bihar. Yes, everyone. What's your stake? पहली बार सुने हो शाह आलम का नाम? ये इसके पहले भी सुना है कभी शाह आलम नाम का कोई बंदा था? My question is logical or not? That is, Shah Alam was a Mughal emperor, and Mughal emperor has to stay in Delhi. Why this person is roaming in UP and Bihar? Do you know this thing? Yes, do you know this thing? I'm going to write so that do you know, or shall I explain? See, as the response is not from your side, so that's why I have to write like this. कि सुनाई नहीं देता होगा तो दिखाई तो देता होगा, है ना? बात सही है कि नहीं? सुनाई नहीं देता है तो दिखाई तो देता होगा. Yes, everyone. What's your stake? Shall I explain? हाँ तो फिर बताओ ना यार, इतना तो है. क्या टाइम पास करते रहते हो? हाँ, फालतू सोचते रहते हो. ज्यादा सोचने से भी ना बाल सफेद हो जाते हैं. It's very simple. As we mentioned about the Battle of Buxar, Awadh Nawab, that is Awadh, Mir Qasim and Shah Alam was there. The Shah Alam was a Mughal emperor and he was wandering in UP and Bihar just because of the fear of his wazir. His wazir was so powerful. Because of that reason, he doesn't want to go there. And do you know what happened with the Shah Alam? Shah Alam was a blind person, not by birth. Yes, everyone, not by birth. Who did that then? वजीर. जो वजीर था ना, उसने इसकी आंखें फोड़ दी. कैसे तो भी भाई साहब जिंदा बच के भाग रहे थे. So just imagine the position of Mughal emperor during this time and position of Mughal emperor during the time of Aurangzeb. So वजीर के डर से भाई साहब भाग रहे थे अपने एम्पायर. So now he thought that this is the right opportunity for him to prove his ability. So Awadh, Mir Qasim and Shah Alam, they formed an alliance, and these alliance versus British East India Company. And you know what happened in the Battle of Buxar? It is the victory of East India Company. It is a victory of East India Company, and whatever we have mentioned, that is Battle of Plassey was a diplomatic victory. So Battle of Buxar confirmed it. Battle of Buxar shows the military power of Britishers and they were superior than any indigenous power of that time. So it is proved that Britishers are going to be a next power in India. So what was started in Battle of Plassey, it was ended into Battle of Buxar because the three important powers lost the battle of Buxar. And who was the Nawab of, at the time of Battle of Buxar? Mir Zafar. Because in meanwhile, Britishers re-established them as a Nawab of it. Clear? So what happened after this war? Awadh, Awadh was basically a loser power. They were on under the British pressure. Mir Qasim lost relevance. Shah Alam was basically the pensioner of East India Company. And very interesting factor or fact, that is, I just want to tell you, Treaty of Allahabad. With the Treaty of Allahabad 1765, British East India Company gets Diwani right. Yes, British East India Company gets Diwani right of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. That is, whole Bengal province consists of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha as Though Shah Alam was an emperor in the just namesake, but still he was there in the name, and Britishers took the opportunity of this, and they provided the pension to Shah Alam and kept him in Kara, port of Kara. It is located near Allahabad, and they took this opportunity and they made Awadh as a puppet in their hand. Clear? And with this right of Diwani, a new game started in Bengal in 1765, and that new game is known as introduction of diarchy in Bengal. Diarchy, the word is dual government in Bengal. What kind of dual government? Nizamat and Diwani. Nizamat and Diwani. Nizamat means basically administration. Yes, Nizamat is administration and Diwani is basically a revenue. Yes, revenue collection right. So Diwani, it consists of means which kind of revenue you're talking about? Land revenue only? Yes, everyone. What do you think? What comes under Diwani? Yes, my question is very simple to all of you. Diwani. What comes under Diwani? Land revenue only? Yes. What do you think? What comes under Diwani? Land revenue or other types of revenue as well? Yes, boys and girls. What comes under Diwani? Land revenue or other forms of revenue as well? क्या लगता है आप लोगों को? Yes, what do you think? Yes, come on, everyone. No response. I know it's lunchtime, but as you are not a worker, yes, most of the laborers have a lunchtime at 1 o'clock. You want to be a civil servant, that's why you are here. And we are going to finish the establishment of British rule in this lecture only. So please be there and respond us. So of course the word revenue, it consists of all. The Diwani means revenue, and revenue consists of all forms of revenue. Land revenue, then taxes, clear? Then then other means sales and all. So all forms of revenue comes under it. So basically when the Clive and dual rule established, what happened? Nizamat means administration under Bengal Nawab, and Diwani, that is collection of revenue, was under British East India Company, and British East India Company started looting Bengal from here. The drain of wealth we mentioned about it in latter time, it is the same thing. They started plundering and looting the Diwani right through Diwani right. Clear? And there was a huge discontent among the people related to Bengal Nawab because they don't know what happened internally. Nawab was just a puppet in the hands. He doesn't have an actual power. The power with the British East India Company, and they started just ruling Bengal. So this dual government was there from 1765 till 1772, and this is the period where India witnessed looting by or plunder. Loot is a normal word. Plundering by the East India Company. So this dual government basically tarnished the image of Bengal Nawab. Clear? So finally in 1772, when Britishers realizes that they are in a position that image of Nawab is worst, and it is the right time for them to grab the power, to capture it, and they abolished the Nawabship, and Bengal came under British rule. Yes, everyone, is that clear to all of you? How Bengal comes under British rule? It was a planning. Just look at this thing. It was not a sudden action that there was no one is there and they captured it. It was not at all the case. It was a plan, conspiracy, then Battle of Plassey, then agreement, plundering, again the Battle of Buxar, agreement with Shah Alam gets the Diwani right, exploitation, all. These all are well planned. Yes, everyone, is that clear to you? Anglo-Bengal is clear to you? No question, nothing? Good. Next important is for Mysore. As Mysore, this area, just background, I just want to tell you, Vijayanagar Empire. The Vijayanagar Empire was there. After Vijayanagar Empire, Wodeyar dynasty captured Mysore. After Vijayanagar Empire, Nayaks were there. Yes, the concept of Nayaks were there. They were basically feudal lords. Wodeyar was a Nayak who captured this area and established his control there. But as later on these kings were just for namesake, they were not so powerful, and that leads to rise of Hyder Ali. Yes, the father of Tipu Sultan, an important person. Hyder Ali. Hyder Ali was illiterate person, but he was an able and efficient administrator. He established the arsenal factory at Dindigul. Yes, and he also want to modernized army. Clear? And for that reason, he took the French help. Clear? So that shows that Hyder Ali was basically an innovative ruler. Along with that, he realizes the need of time. We can consider this person as a visionary person. Yes, because he started modernizing army. He just established the arsenal. So these all shows that he is really interested in dominating the area and he is interested in defeating the Britishers. Clear? So it is very clear. A visionary person as Hyder Ali. What happened and how the first Anglo-Mysore War started? As I mentioned earlier also, Britishers now consolidated their position in Bengal. So they gradually had an interest in South India as well. So first Anglo-Mysore War was basically started with the French connection of Mysore, because as we mentioned, Hyder Ali started relations with the French East India Company, and it was not accepted by British East India Company. That is one problem. They had a problem with French East India Company. Second, this is another important diplomatic victory of Hyder Ali. That is, he made an alliance with Nizam and Maratha. And it was an alarm for the Britishers, because if the native powers are going to form alliance, then how they are going to hatch the conspiracy? And if they are not going to hatch the conspiracy, it is not possible for them to control the mainland, because these power, if they combinedly fighting against Britishers are nowhere at that time. So they decided this is the alarming situation for them. We have to do something. And the last thing happened, that is Hyder Ali's attack on Madras. Why it is so? Because there was a conflict between France versus Britain. And in that battle, Hyder Ali supported the France in India. Clear? So Hyder Ali attacked the Madras. And it was a sudden attack. Britishers were not ready with that attack, and finally that led to victory of Hyder Ali. So first Anglo-Mysore War registered the victory of Indian power over the Britishers, but they were the Britishers. They learned from their mistake and again they made themselves strong. So that for a long time they waited for an opportunity. Just imagine, it is in 1767 to 69. For around 10 years they waited for a right opportunity. After 10 years, once they consolidate their position in Bengal as well as they consolidate their position in Madras, they decided this is the time. The cause was there, basically Maratha invaded the territory, or sorry, Maratha break up the treaty of alliance and they invaded. Maratha invaded the Mysore area. Along with that, British attacked the Mahe. As you know, Mahe, French colony. Mahe was a French colony. It was attacked by Britishers. So Britishers, sorry, French and Mysore, they were the friends. Attack on France means attack on Mysore right now. Along with that, War of Independence also played an important role, because in War of Independence, Britain on one side, America on other side, but America was supported by France. So that's why Britishers wants to take revenge from France and they attacked the Mahe. So these all factors means the Anglo-Mysore War was second Anglo-Mysore War was not related to the indigenous factor only. International factor do play important role in that. Yes, clear? American War of Independence, attack on the Mahe. Along with that, Britishers hatched the conspiracy and Marathas attacked or invaded the Mysore territory and they break their alliance. So because of all these factors, that leads to Second Anglo-Mysore War. In meanwhile, Tipu Sultan became the head of the Mysore because his father Hyder Ali died, and the result of that is also seen, that is Tipu Sultan registered the victory. So in first and second Anglo-Mysore War, Mysore emerged as a victor. It was a setback for the Britishers, though it was not complete crushing defeat for Britain or British East India Company, but it was a setback for them. Again, they waited for a right time. Again, they consolidated their position as they were not satisfied. What happened? Yes, as they were not satisfied with the first and second war result. That's why they decided to take a revenge. And one more factor played important role in the third Anglo-Mysore War, and it is also having an international relation. Yes, do you know? Do you know any international factor? Yes, everyone. Do you know any international factor is a cause in the third Anglo-Mysore War? अरे इतना तो बता दो यार, हैं? इतना भी नहीं बताओगे? नहीं, your situation is like that, कागज नहीं दिखाएंगे. But I don't want. I never ask you. I just ask you answer. I'm not asking you about the paper. Simple, है ना? हमने कब कहा कि भाई मेंस के आंसर राइटिंग कागजों पे लिखाओ और दिखाओ? नहीं, verbal. Yes, everyone. Do you know? Is there any international factor behind it? Yes, everyone. At least this can be expected from you only, because I am the person who taught you. That's why I'm asking. Is there any international factor? अब इससे बड़ा क्लू क्या दे आपको? Yes, is there any other factor? Boys and girls, think about it. It's very simple. Harshita don't know. Arey, look at the year here. Look at the year. What happened in 1789 in the world? Yes, everyone. What happened in 1789 in the world? As I told you, I'm the person. Yes, I'm the person who taught you the same. अब इतना बताने के बाद भी यानी हो it's a really humiliation for me. अरे basically everyone know this fact. French Revolution. यार किसी भी बंदे को पता है आप नहीं बता सकते हो हैं ये कोई बात हुई of course French Revolution 1789 and you know what that Mysore and French East India Company is having close relation with each other. You know about it. Tipu planted the tree of liberty. ये तो सुना होगा ना कभी Tipu Sultan became the member of Jacobean Club. ये भी तो सुना होगा ना हाँ good yes now you are on the right track. So international factor played important role. Of course the French Revolution was an important factor of that time. Clear? So let me tell you the causes for the third Anglo-Mysore War. Second war was not decisive for the British, so Britishers were unhappy. Even the Tipu efforts to strengthen himself. How Tipu is strengthening himself? Tipu was basically modernizing his military, and you know what? A very best example I just want to tell you, and most of you are aware, or maybe you are not aware of it as well. Tipu Sultan was the first person in India who invented a missile kind of thing. Yes, it is true. He uses it against the Britishers. A rocket kind of missile he used in the war, and that's why Britishers first time realizes this person is more dangerous. We have to do something. So Tipu Sultan was strengthening his army according to the European lines. Even his soldiers were having rifles, not rifles, what it is mentioned, musketeers. Yes, it is kind of that gun. It is there. So they are modernizing themselves, and it is alarming for the British East India Company. This person is basically aggressive. Second, Tipu's foreign policy. Tipu wants to establish, or he already established, a company like East India Company. He sent the ambassador to various countries to establish the foreign relation with them. They said that this person is very dangerous, and the immediate cause, yes exactly, the immediate cause as you all mentioned, that is Tipu's attack over the Travancore. The Travancore was basically alliance with Britishers, so it was the immediate cause. The factors were behind, that is international issues were there. Tipu's efforts to establish diplomatic relation with the foreign powers, along with that he strengthened his own army in the modern European line. That's why it was an alarming situation for them, and they got the opportunity once he attacked the Travancore, and the result of that is the Treaty of Srirangapatnam. That is, there was a defeat of Tipu Sultan, and Tipu Sultan surrendered half of his territory. Yes, Tipu Sultan surrendered his half of territory along with his two sons. Along with his two sons, he surrendered in front of Britishers. And why it is so? Because Britishers want guarantee from the Tipu Sultan that he is not going to attack again. Clear? So it was a very difficult for Tipu because it's a personal loss for him. And and as Tipu Sultan was not happy with the loss, Tipu Sultan wants to take revenge, and that leads to Fourth Anglo-Mysore War. The Fourth Anglo-Mysore War in 1799, as the Tipu's efforts wants to take revenge, he wrote a letter to Jaman Shah. He was the Afghan ruler at that time. He wrote the letter to them. He even Tipu tried to conspire, or he's interested in conspiracy in Maratha court. Along with that, he sent the message to the Hyderabad and all. So such kind of activity Tipu was performing at that time, just to take the revenge and to strengthen himself, and his French connection was also a problematic situation for him. And this all, that is Tipu's efforts to strengthen himself and wants to take revenge, leads to Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, and that leads to the defeat and death of Tipu Sultan, one of the most prominent figure of South India at that time, died in the battle. Yes, everyone. And nowadays there are many conspiracy theories which is going on WhatsApp related to Tipu Sultan, how cruel he was and all. So for them, I just want to tell you that please read at least NCRT. Maybe NCRT will help them to understand the contribution of one of the important national hero of India. He is not just interested in the military field, but he was interested in other aspects as well, including the science. Clear? And he also one of the person which followed the tradition of India, and that is the religious tolerance. Though he was a Muslim, but his subject mostly were the Hindus, and we had the evidences that Tipu Sultan is having a cordial relation with the Shankaracharya of Sringeri Mutt. Even we had the reference when Maratha attacked here. Where is the thing? The second Anglo-Maratha War. We mentioned that Maratha invaded. At that time, there was a temple of Srirangapattanam was looted, plundered by Marathas. That temple was repaired by Tipu Sultan. So this is the way, that is idea of India presented by Tipu Sultan. So that's why India lost his one of an important son in the fourth battle of Anglo-Mysore War. Yes, everyone, is that clear to you? Anglo-Mysore War is clear to all of you. Any confusion, any doubt, anything? अरे पूछ लो कुछ होगा तो हैं अभी दे देंगे जवाब. Yes, everyone, is that clear to you? You have any confusion, any doubt, anything? Yes, and for better understanding and information of history, it is one advice from one senior to his junior friends that please keep safe distance from the forwarded message from social media. Yes, everyone, इतिहास का ज्ञान किताबों से लेना चाहिए, फॉरवर्डेड मैसेज से नहीं. खतरनाक है. ओके. समझ गए ना? यस यस, गुड 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 गुड. Next important thing, that is Anglo-Maratha War. As I just want to tell you the background though, and this topic is basically a transition topic between modern India and medieval India. Yes, this is a very crucial juncture. So sometimes I have to give the reference of medieval India as well because of the same reason. So Anglo-Maratha, first we have to understand who were the Marathas were. Maratha rose to power during the time of Shivaji. Yes, Shivaji, he was a person who established the idea of Swarajya for Marathi speaking population, but he was not a chauvinist person, like means really he was not religious bigotry person. He was a one of the tolerant leader of his time. Yes, and that's why we considered Shivaji in modern terms as a national hero. So he established a rule known as Swaraj in Maharashtra. His son and successor is also followed this same thing, that is Sambhaji. He also followed the same style and all. But what happened, as during these two people, they were ruling during the time of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was the emperor of India at that time, and it was a challenge to his authority. So he directly waged a war against Shivaji and Sambhaji. And Sambhaji was not in a position to tackle the internal politics as well as the politics from Mughal side, and finally somehow he was captured and executed by Aurangzeb. So after the death of Sambhaji, Aurangzeb took his son Shahu with him. But Sambhaji's younger brother Rajaram fled and he established a rule in Jinji in Tamil Nadu. Clear? So this was a case. But with the death of Aurangzeb, release of Shahu was released. And we mentioned that Rajaram was also ruling in Jinji. After the death of Rajaram, his wife Tarabai established a rule. Clear? And now the problem between Shahu versus Tarabai started. The problem of establishment of supremacy. Who is a real successor of Shivaji? And that leads to the partition of Maratha Empire. On one side, the Shahu rule, on other side, Tarabai rule. And that's why Satara and Kolhapur, these are the two famous places in Maharashtra, and it is known for the successor of Shivaji, the two branches of successor. Now what happened? Why I am mentioning this thing? Because it is related to this affair of Anglo-Maratha. Shahu was not that much capable ruler, and he basically allowed his court, what we can say, ministers to play an important role, and one of the most important person was Balaji Vishwanath. He was a Peshwa. He was a Peshwa, and he consolidated the position of Shahu in Maratha. He even waged a policy of war against the northern powers. And his son and successor, whose Balaji Vishwanath's son, is known as Bajirao. Yes, Bajirao is very famous because of the movie and all, and other aspect is important, that is he is one of the important Maratha military generals, and because of his attempt, Marathas established their control over the North India. So it was a past, that is because of the aggressive policies followed by Peshwas under the Chhatrapati, that leads to the expansion of Maratha Empire into North. And this gets the challenge from various principalities, and the most important battle is everybody knew about the Battle of Panipat. Yes, third Battle of Panipat, 1761. It was a battle, it was a huge loss for Marathas, but Marathas later on recovered themselves, and again they established a control over North India along with the many parts of India. But what happened, as Chhatrapati lost their relevance because they became the de jure ruler, de facto ruler became the Maratha, became the Peshwas. So that leads to Maratha Confederacy. And this Maratha Confederacy is having several branches. One is of course of Peshwa, because all these, whatever the name I am going to mention, all these names are the part of Anglo-Maratha War. Peshwas, Holkars, Scindias, Bhosle, and Gaikwad. These were the important Maratha families, or what we can say confederacy member, and they played a crucial role in first, second and third Anglo-Maratha war. Clear? Now I just want to tell you the first Anglo-Maratha war. This first Anglo-Maratha war was basically fought in 1775. It was a time when there was a conspiracy among the Peshwas was started. Yes, conspiracy amongst the Peshwas was started during this time. So first Anglo-Maratha war was basically a victory of Britishers. Victory of Britishers. But one more problem was created, and due to that is, that Regulating Act of 1773. This Regulating Act of 1773 made the Governor of Bengal is Governor General of Bengal, and it is said that every presidency, means Bombay and Madras, has to take or has to follow the guidelines from the Governor General of Bengal over the issue of war and expansion. So, Governor of Bengal considered the treaty or the Battle of 1775 was a void because it is a violation of the Regulating Act, and this problem was there. So, first Anglo-Maratha War was basically the victory of Britishers over Maratha, but with the interference from the Governor of Bengal, whatever the territories they have taken, they have to return to it. So basically, it was not a decisive battle for both. Yes, everyone, please take this note that battle, this first Anglo-Maratha War, 1775, was not basically a decisive battle for both. Both were unsatisfied. Clear? So once again, the issue is emerged during the Second Anglo-Maratha War. The Second Anglo-Maratha War was basically 1801 to 1803. This 1800 or 1803 to, this is an important aspect. Why? Because Peshwa signed Subsidiary Alliance, Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance with Britishers in Treaty of Plassey. Treaty of Plassey was an important treaty for Britishers. Treaty of Plassey was an important treaty for British point of view because now Peshwa, a head of this confederacy, is the puppet in their hand, and it was there that other has to follow it, but Maratha forces refused to do so, and that leads to Second Anglo-Maratha War. Because in the Second Anglo-Maratha War, Peshwa, when he signed the Subsidiary Alliance, that means he was not a part of it. In Second Anglo-Maratha War, it was basically between Britishers versus Holkar versus Scindia versus Bhosle. But do you know what is the interesting factor? They all fought this war separately. Don't you think so? It is a mistake from their side. They all fought a war against Britishers, but separately. Combinedly, if they were going to fight the war, that means they definitely the result of war would be different. But once they fight alone, that is very dangerous. And the result of it is basically Britishers defeated all. And Britishers signed Subsidiary Alliance with all. Yes, Britishers signed Subsidiary Alliance with all. As what happened after this? Maratha literally they lost their areas, even they lost their control, but still the Marathas were power which can reckon with. it was not a complete defeat or a crushing defeat of Marathas. After signing of subsidiary alliance, they realizes they are puppet in the hands of Britishers, because the subsidiary alliance, as I want to tell you this point of subsidiary alliance. What is subsidiary alliance? It was a brainchild of, yes, it was a brainchild of, who was the viceroy, who was the governor general at that time? Yes, everyone, it was a brainchild of, please tell me, and I'm going to tell you the provision. Yes, subsidiary alliance. It was established in 1799. It was a brainchild of, who was the governor general at that time? Yes, anybody is having any idea? Who was the governor general at that time? Is that so difficult question for you, boys and girls? I'm really surprised. Yes, Preeti said yes, exactly. Wellesley was there. Wellesley was the person who provided this policy, that is policy of subsidiary alliance. But actually, he was not what we can say the original, or instead of that, we can use the word. He was not the person who gave birth to this idea. The actual person was Duplessis. Yes, the same French Governor General we mentioned about the same. He introduced this policy. Just Wellesley took it and adopted and modified and established the British rule in India through the subsidiary alliance. The subsidiary alliance, the policy is having very simple thing. That is, if anybody is going to sign the subsidiary alliance with the Britishers, then British is going to take care of their defense. How they are going to take care of defense? By establishing the subsidiary forces for the protection. यानी suppose आपका ये साम्राज्य है, you are the ruler here. I am going to tell you the two conditions. This is the first condition and this is the second condition. Means pre-subsidiary alliance, post-subsidiary alliance. In the first condition, you are the ruler and you can protect your empire. How can you protect your empire? With your own army. Yes, am I right or wrong? With your own army, you're going to protect it. But what Britishers said, why you have to maintain your own army? We are there. We are having superior army, more sophisticated weapons. What do you have to do? Nothing. Just you have to pay the salary as you are paying them. Just we don't want salary. We want tribute from your side. You have to take care of them. You have to pay the amount to us. Means basically it is a kind of outsourcing. Do you get it? It is kind of outsourcing. They say that instead of your own player, you're going to allow us to protect you. So British soldiers is there to protect the ruler. So tell me one important thing. Whose order these British soldiers are going to follow? Order of ruler or the order of Britishers? Order of ruler or order of Britishers? Yes, everyone, what do you think? Of course, who is going to follow the order of ruler? Nobody, because they are the employee of British East India Company. So in case of crisis, they are not going to protect the ruler. In first case, they are going to protect the ruler because they all are loyal to ruler. But in second case, they are not loyal to ruler. They are loyal to British East India Company. Yes, exactly. They are loyal to British East India Company. So now how this subsidiary alliance made the Indian ruler puppet. Now Indian ruler doesn't have their own army to protect. Britishers army protecting them. Along with that, Indian rulers were paying for maintenance of this army, and they said that we are having more sophisticated weapons, so you have to pay more. Second, British resident at the court. British resident is basically a foreign player. So foreign player is in your court, means if you are having any what we can say discussion in your court, this British resident is going to tell British government what happened in that particular court. So basically it is a kind of spying. It is a kind of spying. So resident was act like a spy. Along with that, they said that you do not maintain any independent foreign relation with any foreign relation. It doesn't mean with the Britain, America, or any other country. Foreign relation means, for example, Maratha to Mysore, Mysore to Hyderabad. No such relation is allowed. If you want to establish that relation, then you have to establish it through British, not an independent. So don't you think so? If you go through this thing, you will get to know that basically Indian rulers are puppet in the hands of Britishers. And this happened, and the Maratha ruler realizes their mistake. They signed the subsidiary alliance to gain the position, to capture the power, but now they realize they are the puppet in the hands of Britishers, and that leads to Third Anglo-Maratha War. In the Third Anglo-Maratha War, Peshwa revolted. Yes, Peshwa revolted against the British rule. Peshwa revolted against the British rule. It happened in 1818. Yes, recently one incident is very famous in Maharashtra, and it is related to the same thing. This is related to the Third Anglo-Maratha War and end of Peshwaship. Clear? So there was a first battle in Kirki. It was fine, and in that battle, Peshwa defeated. Later on, one more battle, and that is a crushing defeat of Peshwa. So Anglo-Maratha War is having many battles. First with the Peshwa, and Peshwa's revolt is destroyed. Second, in Nagpur, Bhosles were there. And in the Nagpur as well, Britishers uses the forces in well manner that also destroyed the Nagpur and Bhosla. And the third were the Holkars. And this revolt is also crushed. Who left? Which one? Of course, Scindia. Scindia didn't participate in that. Scindia didn't participate in Third Anglo-Maratha War. And what about Gaikwad? Gaikwad already in this subsidiary alliance, and they also didn't participate in that. So basically the problem is with Marathas that they didn't fight this war unitedly. What they did, they fought the war separately, and that leads to crushing defeat of Marathas, and that ended the or what we can say challenge. Yes, everyone, is that clear to you? Yes, Anglo-Maratha War, is that clear to you, all of you? Yes, everyone, is that clear to you? So just now, the most important three powers we have discussed: Bengal, Mysore, Maratha. Just two power left. Annexation of Sindh. Annexation of Sindh, as I mentioned earlier also, the annexation of Sindh was not a aim of Britishers, but they did so. Why? Because suffering from suffering from first Anglo-Afghan War. In the Sindh, there were three states: Mirpur, Khairpur, and Hyderabad. These three states were there, and their Nawab were loyal to British government. Yes, their Nawab were loyal to the British government, and they had a friendly relation with them. Along with that, one more thing I just want to tell you: they signed the Subsidiary Alliance. Even these three powers signed the Subsidiary Alliance with the British as well. So there was no scope for any revolt. No scope, nothing. But still they did so. Why it is so? Because Britain had a severe defeat, and it was a loss of prestige for the British in Anglo-Afghan War. That is the first Anglo-Afghan War. Because of that reason, Britishers hatch conspiracy through fake letters. What do you think? Fake news is common nowadays? No, it was there since beginning. So Britishers hatched the conspiracy, and through fake letters they said that these people, these native powers, are going to revolt against the Britishers. So Britishers considered it a serious threat through fake letters, and they attacked and finally annexed these states. So as I mentioned, the statement of Charles Napier. Charles Napier mentioned this thing: we do not have any right to annex Sindh, but still we are doing so, though it is the best example of rascality in history, but still we are doing so. So Britishers at any cost wants to save their prestige, and that's why they annex Sindh. Clear? Yes, everyone. Is that clear to all of you? Any confusion, any doubt, anything? Yes, everyone. I know you all are tired. Just 10-15 minutes more. Yes, everyone. You are with me for a long time, and I hope you are allowing me for 10 to 15 minutes more. Yes, are you ready, boys and girls? Yes, boys and girls, are you ready? Shall we continue? इतना सब कुछ कर लिया, अब 10-15 मिनट के लिए क्या पूछा? नहीं, चलो फिर बढ़ जाते हैं अपन आगे. गुड. जोश. यस. क्या बात. Fast response from Harshita and Preeti. Rest are said that, oh, chalo. It should not be the case. Just for 10 more minutes, we are going to finish the topic. Yes, Omkar, you're there. Good, 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 good. Now we are going to discuss Anglo-Sikh War. Anglo-Sikh War, actually, I just want to tell you the background of this as well, as everybody knew about the establishment of Sikhism, then how Guru Gobind Singh established the Khalsa and all. You all have this information. So I just want to tell you there were 12 missiles. There were 12 missiles, that is, 6 were divided into 12 mills. 6 chiefs were divided into 12 mills. They are in kind of a group, kind of, we can mention. They were divided into 12 groups, and they ruled there for that area. Initially, everyone was very happy, everything was very well. But what happened? They have the internal rivalries among themselves. Now they are not going to cooperate with each other. And finally, that paved the way for one of the dominant person known as Ranjit Singh. This person is a very well known in the history, and it is a title that is Maharaja Ranjit Singh. नाम लेते ही ऐसी एनर्जी आ जाती है, Maharaja Ranjit Singh. This was a person who is considered as a founder of Sikh Empire. Founder of Sikh Empire. And yes, a dominant position of Sikh in Indian context is because of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Politically, as his capital was Lahore, and he established a rule in well manner. Because of that reason, he is well-known figure not just for fighting but for his able administration in the history. Yes, so Maharaja Ranjit Singh was a powerful person enough, and Britishers realizes this fact, and Britishers do not want to wage a war against that time, because I told you Britishers first consolidate their position in Bengal and other places, then they try to extend it after consolidation. So they realizes Ranjit Singh is a real threat. So for that reason they signed the treaty with Ranjit Singh. That treaty is known as Treaty of Amritsar. If I'm not wrong, then year is basically 1809. Treaty of Amritsar. And even Ranjit Singh signed this treaty because Maharaja realizes the same thing, that is, he also wants to consolidate his position. Expansion of empire is a simple task, but consolidation and maintenance is difficult. So he focused on consolidation. So he was a realistic person. He followed the pragmatic approach and he signed the Treaty of Amritsar. So with this Treaty of Amritsar, what happened? A very important treaty that they made Satluj as a border between Sikh kingdom and British India. Yes, everyone, please remember this thing. This is important and we will have a reference of it. Treaty of Amritsar between Maharaja Ranjit Singh and British Empire over the river Satluj. So this river Satluj, suppose it is the Satluj, then it is said that Sikh kingdom is on the west side of Satluj and British India on east side of Satluj. Nobody is going to cross it. So it is basically a line of demarcation between Sikh Empire and British rule. Yes, is that clear to you? Treaty of Amritsar is clear to all of you? Yes, everyone, Treaty of Amritsar is clear to all of you? Or in confusion? Because now the next event is based on the Treaty of Amritsar only. Is that clear or not? If it is not clear, please ask me. I'm going to explain it. If it is clear, please let me know. Yes, boys and girls? Clear? No confusion? No doubts? Okay. Okay, yes, Preeti, it is clear to you. Okay, now what happened? That is, after death of Ranjit Singh, his son Dalip Singh became head. Dalip Singh was a minor at that time, and Jindan was a queen. So Queen Jindan became the regent of Dalip Singh. Britishers realizes this is the opportunity through which they can interfere. How it is so? Because Ranjit Singh was no more. Dalip Singh is a minor. Yes, so this is the right time to interfere in that. Right time to annex. Now just imagine it is the year 1845. 1845 means right now Britishers already are master in the mainland of India. They established their control. There is no challenge in front of British other than Sikh. Bengal, the challenge was vanished. Mysore already ended. Marathas no more. Sindh also gone. So only challenge left in the mainland of India, that is from Sikh, and till Maharaja Ranjit Singh they were not in a position to attack. So they realized this. Now this is the opportunity. Now the time is right. It is the best time to intervene in that. And what they did, they hatched the conspiracy. Britishers always have this practice of divide and rule. Divide and rule, it doesn't mean just a division between Hindu and Muslim. They divided among the empire, and they always had the conspiracy, and they hatched the conspiracy. There were many important noble Britishers told them if they are going to support us, then Britishers are going to provide them a free kingdom. And one very best example is Gulab Singh. Yes, this Gulab Singh later on became the king of Kashmir. Yes, they hatched the conspiracy. Gulab Singh, Moon Singh, clear? There were many players. There were three important figures in that. Britishers hatched the conspiracy. One is Mir Bakshi. Yes, one is important commander. So they hatched the conspiracy and they said that after defeating Sikh army, they are going to provide them the territory. And they all agree with that. They all involved in that conspiracy. What happened? Yes, now I just want to tell you the importance of Treaty of Amritsar. Now what happened in 1845? British Army along with Governor General march towards Punjab. British Army along with the Governor General marched towards Punjab. Sikh army considered it attack over them. Yes, remember, British army marched towards Punjab with the Governor General. Sikh army considered it is an attack over them, and already Britishers had the conspiracy with their important leader, and Sikh army crossed Satluj. Sikh army crossed Satluj, and Britishers said that it is a violation of Treaty of Amritsar. Don't you think so? It was a conspiracy by Britishers. Britishers said that it is a violation of Treaty of Amritsar. That means Sikh army attacked us and we just responded it. That's it. We never had any intention to attack or annex Sikh, means attack Punjab. But Sikh army attacked us, so we responded. That's it. And do you know that Britishers are much powerful right now? They just want the opportunity, they just want a reason, and that reason was provided by Sikh army only by crossing Satluj, and Britishers said that you attacked us and finally that leads to defeat of Sikh army. Yes, so Anglo-Punjab War is basically defeat of Sikh army, and that leads to Treaty of Lahore. With the Treaty of Lahore, Dalip Singh was basically, yes, the terms and condition of is very simple. Dalip Singh was remain as a king, but under residence, under the guidance of residence. Queen Jindal sent to London, because Britishers always used to follow the same policy. If they considered any person is dangerous, they always deport that person. Bahadur Shah Jafar deported to Rangoon. Queen Jindal deported to London. Clear? So it was a clear cut thing. So there should not be any sentiment related to the people by showing that. No, they ended it. So Treaty of Lahore basically provided the opportunity to Britishers to manage it. Henry Lawrence, John Lawrence, the three Lawrence brothers were there. They were involved in the affairs of Punjab at that time. And what happened? These residents, these players introduced so many reforms, and that leads to anger. That leads to anger among the common masses. Along with that, those who conspired, had the conspiracy in the first time, except the Gulab Singh and others, they realizes their mistake and they want to take the revenge from Britishers. They want to defeat the Britishers, but actually they lost everything in the first battle only. It was just a desperate attempt, we can say. So what happened? What was the reason for Second Anglo-Punjab War? That is reforms made by residents. It was a huge protest from all over the Punjab. Losses for state. Yes, loss to state, because the revenue loss is there. Along with that, British encroachment in Punjab is these are the most important problem. Reforms made hurt the sentiment of the people, losses to the state exchequer, and British encroachment was not acceptable by the Punjab army or Sikh army, and that leads to Second Anglo-Punjab War in 1849, and finally the annexation of Punjab, and Dalip Singh deported to London. As there is no king, no sentiment, nothing. Now the British are the rulers. Britishers are the real ruler of Punjab. So they complete their circle which they started from Bengal in 1757 and they ended in 1849. Yes, remember everyone, 1757 to 1849. So don't you think so? It is a plan approach. Yes, it was a plan, a strategy, and they executed it. What we have to learn, yes, we as a civil services aspirant or as a human being, what we have to learn from British, if you really want to be a successful person, then first consolidate your position and then try to expand it. Why Marathas were not successful in establishing their rule? Because they expanded the territory without consolidation of the power. Britishers consolidated their power and then gradually expanded. With the gradual expansion, their aim was the consolidation, and once they consolidate their position in all the aspects, finally that leads to capture of India. Is that clear to all of you? Yes, is that clear to all of you? Next important thing, that is establishment of British rule in India. As we mentioned, the doctrine of lapse is one of the important policy launched by Dalhousie, and through that policy he annexed the most important territories of India which is left in mainland. So we mentioned there are two factors for doctrine of lapse: no male heir, natural heir. Along with that, you have to take the permission, and that permission is totally dependent on the Governor General of India. If Governor General of India considered, then they are going to allow. Otherwise, they are not going to allow. So through the doctrine of lapse, they annexed Satara in 1848. Satara is the first and Nagpur is the last. Yes, Satara is the first and Nagpur is the last. After Satara, they annexed the Jaipur, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Jhansi in 1853 and Nagpur in 1854. Yes, everyone, they annexed the territory and they kept the ruler for just namesake. Clear? So doctrine of lapse, these empires, that is Satara, of course, the Maratha rulers were there. Clear? Nagpur, the Bhosles were there. They all annexed the territory through doctrine of lapse. So for your prelims point of view, it is better to remember first state was annexed through doctrine of lapse was Satara and the last was Nagpur. Next, misgovernment. Yes, somebody asked me at that time, what about this misgovernment, and please tell us what exactly it is. So misgovernment is basically the Britishers claim that maladministration from ruler side. Along with that, they said that they are inefficient or they promoted human sacrifice. So just they said that you means the duty, basically misgovernment means here in other word I just want to tell you, Britishers blame that rulers fail to do or perform their duties. So as we are the benevolent power, we are here for the welfare of Indians. So we are going to capture it. Clear? So there were many such a small native states captured by British East India Company in the name of misgovernment or maladministration. The first example is Kur 1834. Then Chachar is an example in 1834. Jayantiya, yes, there Jayantiya, Garu Khasi Jayantiya, geography. Yes, Garu Khasi Jayantiya in Meghalaya. This Jayantiya also annexed by British, and they said that ruler promoting the human sacrifice. Narbali deta hai wahan ka Raja. So they said that it is inhuman, just annexed it. Even the Ahom is basically everybody knew about the Assam. They also annexed the Assam in the name of maladministration. And finally, the final stage of their annexation in 1856, Awadh. And they gave the same reason, that is, there is a maladministration in Awadh. Awadh ruler is basically busy in dancing and performing art. So he doesn't have any seriousness to perform his duty. That's why he captured. Yes, Wajid Ali Shah. Everybody knew about the Wajid Ali Shah. Those who haven't, then please do watch a movie of Satyajit Ray, Shatranj Ke Khiladi. You will get to know. Clear? Is that clear to you? This point is clear to all of you. Any confusion, any doubt, any question? Yes, everyone. Is that clear to all of you? Any question? Nothing? No question, nothing else? Good. Next, I just want to tell you these two things, and yes, don't worry, I'm not going to explain these things here. We are going to take this in special classes. Yes, but for now, I'm just going to give you the brief introduction, and then we are going to discuss this policy in detail. So, as the British relation with the native state, what was that? So, one person who wrote a book, the William V. Warden wrote a book, and the name of that book was Indian Native State. In this book, he mentioned the British relation with the Indian native state. So, what kind of relation they were having? So, there he mentioned the four policies of British towards the native state: policy of ring fence, policy of subordinate isolation, policy of subordinate union, and policy of equal federation. Yes, these four policies he mentioned in that book: policy of ring fence, subordinate isolation, policy of subordinate union, and policy of equal federation. What exactly this policy are, what's their function, whether it is really there or not, we are going to discuss in the special classes. But for your kind information, I am mentioning this thing, and we are going to discuss in detail with examples. Clear? And these are the two questions which we are going to discuss in the special classes only. But for your kind information, I'm going to tell you so that you can think over it. That is, there are two questions. First question is, yes, you can take a note of it, or you can take a screenshot of it as well. Establishment of British rule in India was an accident. Critically examined. Establishment of British rule in India was an accident. Critically examined. And the second question is basically, victory of British in India was just because of their superior military strength. Victory of British in India was just because of their military strength. It is a question mark. Yes, everyone, these are the questions for you. Two questions. First, we have mentioned earlier. The second question is, British victory in India was just because of their superior military strength. We can write here, critically examine. Yes. I hope whatever we have discussed till now, you have you have understood it very well, and I don't think so you have any question. But if you have any question, any query, then please you can ask me, because this is an important topic for prelims as well as mains. Do not miss that thing. If you are having any problem, please let me know. I'm here to tell you the answer, and I always believe in that. I'm here to help you. Yes. So that's all for today's lecture from my side. Thank you very much for valuable time. I hope all of you liked the video. If you liked it, like, share, subscribe, tell others, and even you can follow me on this Telegram channel, that is Unacademy _ Harshvardhan. Yes, everyone. You can follow me at Unacademy _ Harshvardhan, and please subscribe to Unacademy, because your subscription will help us to make such a wonderful video. Thank you very much once again. Have a good day, great day, and evening. We have a special class, and we are going to discuss the question and answer related to this. Yes, MCQ is there related to the same topic. Please be there. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Have a good day, great day.